In her opening statement while testifying today before the House Oversight Committee about Jeffrey Epstein, Hillary Clinton criticized the panel and said that if they were serious about getting new information about Epstein, they would force President Trump to testify. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm sure he'd be very forthcoming. You get more information if you forced Jeffrey Epstein to testify.
Can't do that, of course. You killed him. Who brought him the noose? You see, they got this debate there, like which noose. There's like noose. Who's got the noose? Which noose did Jeffrey hang himself with? Which one has DNA on it? You'll be surprised to learn they still don't know. How many nooses were in the high-security suicide watch jail cell? No one knows. Well, a very good and happy Friday to you. Welcome back once again. We are at 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625 is our telephonic contact point. And once again, as is so often the case, those rascally Democrats, did you see Hillary Clinton? You can't say she was on Capitol Hill testifying yesterday. She was in Chappaqua, New York, testifying in a cloaked, secretive kind of setting because the Clinton lawyers insisted on it. They demanded it. And Hillary Clinton last night, very bitter, very bitter. She's an extremely bitter woman. She's not happy. Even when she's not happy, she's still not happy. Isn't that amazing? But she was there at the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center yesterday because it's a performance and it's all a terrible television show. And the actors have gotten so bad that Hillary Clinton is among them. She might get an Emmy, though, because they did videotape it. We might see some of that at some point. But I've learned to not bank on too much when it comes to these matters. Hillary Clinton, on Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein? I don't know the man. I never met the man. As far as I know, I can't recall, she said repeatedly. There's a lot that she couldn't recall yesterday, a lot of not recalling going on. Bill Clinton is expected to show up at the Chappaqua, New York Performing Arts Center by motorcade. Did you see Hillary Clinton showed up by motorcade yesterday? She had 3 war wagons, 3 big black SUV vehicles that brought her to the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center because don't you know who she is? She's, she's the Haile Selassie of the Democrat Party in New York. And just amazing. She showed up by motorcade. She couldn't be more smug, couldn't be more arrogant. She really is the imperiousness of like a third world dictator's wife who will end up taking over the country when he dies by violent means. But the Clinton family, they're really something. So she was there, and she was, I don't know Jeffrey Epstein. Michael Piercy reminded me this morning. Hillary Clinton also claimed that she didn't know, never met James Comey, the FBI director. Him? Who? What? Somebody should ask her if she's ever met Bill Clinton because she's got, Jeffrey Epstein. I never met Jeffrey Epstein. There's a fun soundbite that we're going to play for you. Hillary Clinton says, Ghislaine Maxwell, the pimp in charge of the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. Hillary Clinton says Ghislaine Maxwell came to Chelsea Clinton's wedding as a plus one, and was not personally invited. Sorry, we're going to need to see the invitation list. But you may remember that when Hillary Clinton destroyed 33,000 emails, remember this? She had her team use BleachBit to destroy 33,000 emails, and they were under subpoena by the Congress at the time. But that's not a problem because Ungala Bungala, we live in a third world country when the Democrats are in charge. They are the third world. The left is the third world. They bring the third world with them in a briefcase and open it up and let it loose on the world wherever they go. And the Democrats, they're the left, and that's what they've done. But Hillary Clinton, she says, I love this soundbite. Hillary Clinton says Ghislaine Maxwell came to Chelsea Clinton's wedding as she wasn't invited. She came as a plus one. There weren't that many people at the wedding. It was kind of a small scale, not a giant political wedding. And I wonder if Webb Hubble, well, he couldn't. But, Chelsea's dad Chelsea's actual father, Webb Hubble. He couldn't make it, of course, but Hillary Clinton says Ghislaine Maxwell came as a plus one. But you remember her emails, 33,000 destroyed, and she said, it was mostly just about the wedding and what else? Yoga. Is that what it was? Yoga, and the way, because you can see what a yogi she is, and she's more Yogi Bear than, not yoga master. And she said all of her 33,000 emails were mostly about yoga and about Chelsea's wedding. And now she says, Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't actually invited herself. She was just a plus one. Fortunately, all those emails have been pre-destroyed years ago because they knew this would come back to bite them. They're very sinister people. Evil, I think, might be a word that you use. And one of the things that she gave yesterday, here's a Hillary Clinton answer during the deposition yesterday at the Chappaqua, New York Performing Arts Center. You'll have to ask my husband. You'll have to ask my husband. Wait a minute. House Republicans say Hillary Clinton punted questions on Epstein. You'll have to ask my husband. And he's due to be deposed today in the same Performing Arts Center because it's all theater. And remarkably, you'll have to ask him. So they'll ask today, and he'll say it depends on what the meaning of the word husband is. Because, they're not really much of that whole marriage thing. It's different. It's a political relationship. And Bill Clinton to testify today in House Committee, Epstein investigation in Chappaqua, New York, not on Capitol Hill in a hearing room or in a skiff or any place else, but at the Chappaqua, New York Performing Arts Center, apparently blocks from the Clintons' Chappaqua mansion, which is valued at many millions of dollars. Because they're regular people. They're simple people. You know how they are. So we've got that. And speaking of Epstein, the World Economic Forum, the World Economic Forum? It's people in the know. They just call it the WEF. And then they know. That's the Davos crowd. That's the Davos take over the world crowd and open borders and destroy America crowd. WEF, World Economic Forum president, whose name is Brende, resigns. He's resigned from the World Economic Forum, from the Davos gang, following Epstein links. More Epstein links, and it's Borge Brende. And Borge Brende announced his resignation on Thursday after documents revealed his past contacts with Jeffrey Epstein. This guy is a frothy anti-Trump, internationalist, lefty, and perfect Democrat, anti-American. And here he comes again, Borge Brende of the World Economic Forum. He announced his resignation on Thursday because of Jeffrey Epstein ties. And then Lawrence Summers from Harvard University, had been the president, then demoted to professor at Harvard, and he stepped down. And another math professor, I need to catch up on him, at Harvard, was put on leave because of his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And we even have the law professor emeritus, Alan Dershowitz, who's tied to Jeffrey Epstein, Harvard University. Turns out that Harvard University gave Jeffrey Epstein an office on campus. Harvard gave Epstein an office on campus. He gave them $9 million. And they gave him an office on campus, gives him access to the pretty young things and to everything else that Democrats like to abuse. Isn't that remarkable? So we got that. And also, this kind of slipped by. I'm not sure I even got to it myself. A Department of Justice email that emerged just days ago. This is kind of crazy. Department of Justice email called Jeffrey Epstein's death a murder. Right there in the DOJ, during the Biden debacle, they referred to Jeffrey Epstein's death as a murder in a Department of Justice email, a 2020 email from Justice Department attorney referenced an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's death as a murder. And that word is in quotation marks here, contradicting the official 2019 ruling of suicide. Also, I've got a soundbite for you today of Jeffrey Epstein's brother. Apparently, they weren't very close. They didn't speak for 7 years, something like that. But Jeffrey Epstein's brother wonders whether his brother's death, Jeffrey Epstein's death, was a murder also. Kind of interesting. And a headline from the left-wingers even back then. Epstein's brother told the FBI Jeffrey was ready to, quote, name names ahead of his death. Isn't that amazing? And this is a story from a couple of months ago from December. Jeffrey Epstein's brother told the FBI Jeffrey was ready to name names, and then he mysteriously died. And here's a picture of Hillary Clinton just outside of his jail cell, passing a noose through the bars there. That's Hillary Clinton. These people, great stuff, I am telling you. And the Democrats were spying on the current FBI director and the current White House chief of staff before they were in government, because the left targets their political enemies for political destruction, for economic destruction. They try to imprison their political enemies because they're effectively the KGB in the 21st century in the United States of America. Isn't that amazing? And yeah, they're spying on Susie Wiles, now White House chief of staff. I've never met her, but she's supposed to be just great, wonderful, smart, makes things happen. And the now FBI director, Kash Patel. So the FBI, they got subpoenas. I wonder if they went to the FISA court, which they lied to every time they went to the FISA court. They lied and lied and lied. Oh, yeah, Trump is a Russian asset. Give us warrants to spy on everybody around him. That's good stuff. But the FBI subpoena of phone records leaves Trump chief of staff in shock. Those are the words in quotation marks. Susie Wiles reportedly told associates that she was shocked by the news. Well, let me say, Susie Wiles, I'm not shocked by the news that these fascists, who are, they call themselves liberals, they're the left, and the left is the most murderous death cult in history, of course. But White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles was reportedly in shock after hearing that the FBI under former President Joe Biden subpoenaed her phone records and more, and current FBI Director Kash Patel's phone records in 2022 and in 2023. Susie Wiles, who ran President Trump's 2024 campaign, reportedly told associates, "I am in shock," Axios reported on Thursday. The Reuters news agency first disclosed the subpoenas, which were in good for them. Reuters actually broke a news story here. That's something to see. The subpoenas, which were issued during the Biden administration while Special Counsel Jack Smith was investigating Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. He was challenging. He had questions he wanted answered, and the media refers to it as his efforts to overturn. How about Al Gore's efforts to overturn the 2000 election? And wasn't it the DNC chair and Virginia governor, of course, Terry McAuliffe, who tried to overturn the 2024 election? And they're just, the 2004 election. And these guys, they are the third world. They should speak in some ooga booga tongue, because these are not English language country practices. These are extraordinary. But Reuters first reported the story. The Biden administration, the special counsel Jack Smith, classified documents. And at least 10 FBI agents or personnel have been fired in the last couple of days because of the hack third world job they did on the Mar-a-Lago raid, where they brought their own classified document cover sheets and laid them out on top of stacks of papers that they themselves put on the floor. Then they photographed those stacks of paper with classified document cover sheets. Then they released those photos to the left-wing Trump-hating news media at CNN and the New York Times and beyond. So isn't that amazing? These subpoenaed toll records include phone numbers, dates, times, the length of the call, but not the content of the conversations, Fox News is reporting. But I wouldn't bank on that, because these people lie all the time, and then they get caught, and they retreat one step, and they lie again, then they get caught again, then they take one step back, because they're pathological liars, And the special counsel Smith eventually charged Trump in 2023 with multiple felony offenses related to alleged efforts to challenge the results of the 2020 election and his handling of documents. See, because the Democrats, they challenged the 2000 election, the 2004 election. They challenged the 2016 election. Hillary Clinton still says that she ran the best campaign, she was the best candidate, and she had the election stolen from her. That's last time anybody asked her, that's what she said. So she's saying the election was stolen because she lost, because that's the kind of people they are.
You can run the best campaign, You can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
And they cheer. Hello, woo! Yay, have the election stolen from you. You can even have the election stolen. And they, the Democrats, they cheer having the election stolen from you because they're like, yeah, we'll have an IQ test. And say, well, we'll steal the next one, like we stole the last one. Because, Joe Biden got more votes in the presidential contest than any candidate in the history of the country. Oh, look what I did to the clock. All right, I got Hillary Clinton coming up because she's a gem. She's really something. There is only the fight when it comes to her. Also in Maryland, they passed legislation yesterday. They passed a big bill that I want to share with you. Isn't that amazing? Maryland, poised to approve a bill creating tools to challenge federal agents in Maryland. They want, they're breaking away. They're going to create the Confederate States of America again, as they have in the past. And the Democrats running a convicted child sex abuser. They're running him for office in the Fresno City Council. He's on the sex registry, sex offender registry, and they're running him for. Also, what's going on in the Middle East? Mike Huckabee emailed. Ought to raise an eyebrow. I've got that coming up. And Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton. It's a +1. Ghislaine Maxwell is just a +1. Yes, it should be noted that the Reuters news agency who broke the story a couple of days ago that the FBI was spying on Kash Patel and now FBI director, and Susie Wiles, now White House chief of staff. They were spying on them and subpoenaed their phone records, their phone calls, the times, how long who they're talking to, and on at a bare minimum, at least one occasion in 2023, the FBI recorded a phone call between Susie Wiles, now White House chief of staff. She was in the Trump campaign in a senior position at the time, and she was on the phone with her attorney, Susie Wiles with her own attorney, and the FBI was recording the call, according to two FBI officials, the Reuters news agency reported. So they are, remember when Donald Trump said my phones are being tapped and they all threw Molotov cocktails at synagogues? And these people, they are the KGB. They're the left. They are the third world. Wait till you hear Hillary Clinton from yesterday. And I've got one. She said that Ghislaine Maxwell was just a +1 at Chelsea's wedding. So there's a lot going on in the world, And Gavin Newsom, he had a crazy moment yesterday, too. He's easily frightened. He's afraid of men. But not the wives of the men that work for him. He's not afraid of them. The Democrats are all like this, I think. Bill Clinton and can't keep their yada-yadas in check. But what's going on? That the President of the United States has assembled what he's called an armada, a fleet of U.S. military power near Iran in the Arabian Gulf, as we like to call it, and beyond, even over to the Mediterranean. And a lot of forces built up in the region, and Iran talks not going very well. But listen to this. Mike Huckabee, you may remember, the former governor and presidential candidate, nice guy. Mike Huckabee is now the U.S. ambassador to Israel, U.S. ambassador to Israel. And if you're in Israel right now, and if there should be military action against Iran, which I have mixed feelings about, then in Israel, you're in a hot spot because Iran will start raining death down onto Israel. It's what they do. They want to kill all the Jews in the world. And they were funded by Barack Obama and Joe Biden administration and Hillary Clinton because they're commies and they're not on the side of civilization. But here's the headline today in the New York Post. Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Israel, U.S. ambassador to Israel. Huckabee tells Israel embassy staff to leave today. if they want to leave as Iran talks stall. The Iran talks have stalled, apparently, and the ambassador, of course, is going to be closer to the what's going to happen next, people, right? The State Department is letting non-essential personnel and the family members of diplomats at the U.S. Embassy in Israel leave the country as fears grow that war with Iran is imminent. In an email to staff at the Jerusalem mission Friday morning, that's today, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee warned that those wishing to depart the Jewish state, quote, should do so today. And the word today is in all capital letters. Should do so today. Focus on getting a seat to any place from which you can then continue to travel to D.C., added the former Arkansas governor in the message, first reported by the New York Slimes, honestly. He continued, but the first priority will be getting expeditiously out of country. So Huckabee added that the decision to allow departures was made out of, quote, an abundance of caution. It's always made out of an abundance of caution. Isn't that true? We always have an abundance of caution. There is no need to panic. It's, as the Democrats say, it's never too early to panic. You know, if it's going to snow on Tuesday, start panicking now. But for those desiring to leave, it's important to make plans to depart sooner rather than later, Mike Huckabee said, the ambassador to embassy staff. Friday's email follows unsuccessful indirect talks between the U.S. and Iran in Geneva, Switzerland, on Thursday over Tehran's nuclear program, though additional discussions were set to take place next week in Vienna, Austria. Austria? No, I am Austrian. Iran is likely to launch ballistic missile attacks against Israel in retaliation for any U.S. strike on Iran. So we've got that going on in the Middle East, and that spices things up a bit, doesn't it? Yes, it does. So we've got that going on. Keep that tucked away in the back of your mind, because we do have an enormous force in the region. And there's a lot that could happen, and it could happen really quickly. If you haven't seen the movie Top Gun Maverick, it's all about striking Iran's nuclear program buried deep underground. It's very specifically about Iran, the whole movie. And, Top Fun flies out, Tom Cruise, he flies out of Iran in an F-14, which he used to fly, and he flew, Maverick flew in the first Top Gun movie. And Iran is about the only country in the world that still has an F-14 or two that is airworthy. Last time I looked, they were airworthy anyway. But so we got that, and it's a fun movie too, especially if you have a giant screen TV. That Top Gun Maverick, that's fun. My best girl and I went and saw it at the Udvar Hazy Air and Space Museum Annex at Dulles Airport in the IMAX theater. The IMAX. It was a good place to see all those flying scenes. Good fun. All right, now back to, because, hey, war in the Middle East. President Trump, I don't know. This is a major can of worms. Iran is a can of worms that is unique in the world. And it's war when we don't really want war. We don't want them to have nuclear weapons. And we'd like to see the regime topple. But I don't think you want to kill the Ayatollah. You kill the Ayatollah, it's, to millions of fanatics, it's like killing the Pope. And he's not the Pope, of course. He's a terrorist. But it gets complicated very, very quickly. And a few years ago now, in Iran, they asked everybody to raise their hand if they wanted to become suicide bombers. Hey, who wants to be a suicide bomber? And they're worse than the Democrats. I think the number was 78,000 young men came forward and said, oh, I want to be a suicide bomber because living in Iran right now really sucks. So I'll just go blow myself up, and I'll get 72 raisins, because you know how they love raisins. Those people, they love raisins. Yes, they do. That's good stuff. All right, we got Hillary Clinton, though, and Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton, perhaps you've heard of her. She had this fake testimony yesterday, not on Capitol Hill. It was under oath, and it was in a performing arts center in Chappaqua, New York. Where else would you have it? And Bill Clinton is scheduled to go to the same place today and lie similarly, right? But I want to get to some of that Hillary Diane, because she's really, really something. And she, oh, yeah, sure, Ghislaine Maxwell. Oh, I barely knew her. yeah, I invited her to my daughter Chelsea's wedding, but we just barely, and now she's in a penitentiary, so we pretend that we don't know her now that everybody else knows what she was doing all those years, just as Bill and Hillary knew that she was doing all those years. And Donald Trump's the one who called the cops and said, get that Ghislaine, she's evil. He called her evil to the police down in Florida when Jeffrey Epstein was arrested. And he knew that these people are awful people. And he got on the horn to the cops and said, these are the bad guys. And Ghislaine, she's bad, very, very bad. Yes, sir. That's just crazy. And the Democrats, they just make stuff up all over the place. They Ted Lieu, I saw, who was at Fox News last night. They were doing our show last night on Fox News. I saw they used the Ted Lieu soundbite that we played yesterday, which we should play it again. Let's play it again because that's completely nuts. And this is a congressman, a Democrat member of Congress, and it's an anonymous person who phoned in, said he was like an Uber driver, and somehow an Uber driver was driving Donald Trump, and somehow the Uber driver, who really hated Donald Trump and probably still does, said that he heard Donald Trump talking citizen Trump, not president or even politician Trump, in the back seat of his Uber car or whatever, and that he knew somehow that Donald Trump was talking to Jeffrey Epstein, right? Now, how the driver knew that, nobody knows. And then a woman was shot in the head, and it couldn't have been suicide, but it has something to do with Trump. And here is Democrat Congressman Ted Lieu.
He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop a limo and hurt Donald Trump.
He was so angry because he knew.
He met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein.
An Uber driver.
She later had her head blown off.
Same
officers
girl.
at the scene said that could not have been suicide.
Trump killed her. Obviously, Trump killed her. This is what the Democrats are going around saying. This is an anonymous, nameless Uber driver or limo driver who ages ago, years and years ago, the president's been in limousines with motorcades and armed people for more than a decade or whatever the number is now. And honestly, this is what Ted Lieu, a Democrat member of the House of Representatives, is saying in public. And then she had her head blown off, and the police on the scene said it couldn't have been a suicide. Really, was that the official ruling of the? And it's insinuating very directly that Donald Trump shot this woman in the head and killed her for some unexplained reason, or had somebody shoot her in the head and kill her for some unexplained reason. But there it is. They say this stuff, and then he said that Ted Lieu, that not only is he, but it gets even worse. Listen.
Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children. Of Donald Trump threatening to kill children.
This is what a member of Congress, right? Ted Lieu was actually in the Waffen SS in World War II and murdered millions of Jews. Oh, wait, we got to get to Hillary because it turns out that Jeffrey Epstein helped to save millions of lives. That's Hillary said yesterday that Jeffrey Epstein helped to save millions of lives. Now, this is what the Democrats are saying. So, yeah, this Fox News show last night, they played that, which we played yesterday. And then they used the New York Times headline that I talked about yesterday, too. And they it looked like they had been listening to my show. But let's go to the telephones now, Michael. We are at 888-630-9625. Membership in the Democrat Party is evidence on its face, prima facie evidence of mental illness. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Patricia, calling from Washington, D.C. Patricia, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Oh, I'm so glad to get on. And there's new allegations from this woman in the 80s who was interviewed in 2019. She said in the 80s that Epstein and Trump assaulted her. But if you recall, in December of last year, 2025, they had the Washington Times and the Post. Both had articles about evidence that the FBI had in 2019 and 2020 that they said was false. And it's odd that this 2019 stuff that she was interviewed, Well, they didn't mention that in the December articles, but to me that's kind of odd. I don't believe any of it.
Well,
but they need to get Merrick Garland and ask him what did he think of this, because when they said they knew, well, he was FBI director. He knew this. What did he think of this? Because to me, a lot of the evidence that they talked about in this 2019 stuff, like a postcard sent 3 days after he died that was from him, that was sent from Virginia, and at 3 days after he died. Plus, they said it didn't even have his prison ID on it and other phony stuff. Plus, he was meeting with that Michael Wolff, who's a Trump hater, and they were trying to cook up evidence. Well, you probably know all this, but I don't believe any of it, especially after they made up that picture recently with those women.
Right. Yeah, 6 women that were at a Tropicana party at Mar-a-Lago, and President Trump was there, and the 6 women had been hired by Tropicana to wear Hawaiian leis around their neck and enjoy the party at Mar-a-Lago long before President Trump was in politics. And they asked him, when they saw Trump at Mar-a-Lago, they said, hey, would you take a picture with us? And he said, yeah, sure. And the women were contacted. They were all in their mid-20s. They said President Trump and Citizen Trump was a complete gentleman. And all of that is erased by the New York Times and CNN, Patricia.
Well, before I let you go, I just want to say, see, the Democrats, they don't care if this has been disproven as false. They want it released. They're going to use it because they're evil. They're filthy, dirty cheaters. Oh, that's all I can have to say. I just think they need to get Merrick Garland and see what he has to say. He may say, well, I can't neither prove nor disprove. But still, it would be nice to know if they had a paper record of what he thought, because he had to know about this 2019, 2020 stuff. Well, I'll let you go. Thank you.
You're wonderful. Thank you. You laid it out beautifully, Patricia. Thank you very much. That's fun, and you're right to not believe them. You're right to not trust them. And yeah, right. The New York Times with the headline: Epstein files are missing records about woman who made claim against Trump. Documents, New York Times. Documents released by Justice Department briefly mention a woman's unverified accusation that Donald J. Trump assaulted her in the 1980s. It's about all these, but 1980s is, let's see, 1980 and then 1990 and then 2000. That's 45 years ago, and Donald Trump was a teenager. He wasn't quite a teenager, but honestly, and a woman that claimed, Donald Trump assaulted me in the 1980s, and Jeffrey Epstein, when she was a minor. But several memos related to her account were not in the files. Really, hey, New York Times, you go through 3 million pages of files, or you just do a search for Trump's name and see what comes up. Our news media is the most corrupt institution in America. It's awful. All right, now let's get to speaking of the most corrupt institution in America. Let's go to Hillary Clinton, because she is right up there with the most corrupt institutions in America. There's no doubt about that. All right, let's go to soundbite number 1, because she's out there. I can't believe photograph after photograph of Hillary and Jeffrey Epstein haven't surfaced already since yesterday and over the course of years. We got Bill Clinton pictures with Jeffrey Epstein all over the place. And here he is. And these pictures, the way everything's put together, is potentially dishonest. But here's Bill Clinton in a hot tub. I have no doubt that he was in a hot tub at some point, sprawled out. And who are these very young-looking women? And is it Jeffrey Epstein's hot tub and all that? But here is Hillary Clinton. And she said, I've never been to his $48 million Manhattan mansion. And I've never been to his Palm Beach. She knows where all of his stuff is. Here's Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton, never met the guy.
I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times.
Numerous times. So she said it many times. Never met the guy, never been to his numerous homes, his many homes, never went to his island, never went to his offices. She knows all about there's the island, and of course his homes in New York and in Palm Beach and beyond. And then, What I was playing, you were flying. But this is, you may remember Hillary Clinton. She never met anybody, apparently. In 2018, when we were in the middle of Hillary Clinton destroying 33,000 emails that were all about Chelsea's wedding.
I've never spoken to him.
James Comey.
I've never met him. I've never kissed him.
Why are they howling with laughter? I've never kissed James Comey. I've never met him. Really? Isn't that interesting? One of these sound bites made me laugh yesterday. Hillary Clinton after the deposition at the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center. More hillbilly coming up. All right, Hillary Clinton coming up, and I found out who the plus one is. I found out who was the plus one at Chelsea Clinton's wedding with Ghislaine Maxwell. I'll share that with you coming up. The breaking news inside scoop. Let's go to the phones in the meantime, Michael. Let's go to Nancy, calling from beautiful St. Augustine Beach, Florida. Nancy, you are on the Chris Plant Show.
Thank you so much, and it is beautiful here today. Why was President Trump slammed, I think it was in 22 or 23, when Kanye West came to Mar-a-Lago and brought Nick Fuentes? President Trump didn't know Nick Fuentes was coming. He was slammed for that. But Hillary can say, yeah, she was just a plus one.
Well, that is a great point, Nancy, a wonderful point.
Thank you.
And why do you think that is? I bet you know.
Because if it were not for double standards, the left would have no standards at all. I can't remember who said that. But
see, I think you're onto something there. I think that's exactly right.
So.
You're absolutely right. From now on, when that comes up, the White House press secretary and the president himself should say, "Well, it's true. Nick Fuentes came to Mar-a-Lago at a very large gathering, and he's a bad person, but he was a plus one."
He was a plus one, and he was never charged with anything or associated with somebody who was charged of something horrible.
Exactly right. Nancy, great, wonderful call. Very glad you called in. That's great. I've got more Hillary Clinton coming up. She is an awful person.